It's noon. Welcome everybody. This is the Mason City Conference Board meeting, Tuesday, February 26, 2013 at noon, second floor conference room, City Hall. Let the record reflect from the City of Mason City. We have Mayor Pro Tem Scott Tornquist, Councilmember Gene Marinos. From the school board, we have Mr. Warren, Mr. Becker, Ms. Racinas. From the county, we have Mr. Doherty, Chairman Erdahl, and Mr. Mason. Do we have a motion and a second? We need them from both bodies to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second from one of the other bodies?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this point in time, we'll do C, approval of prior meeting minutes. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you very kindly. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move to D, and we're going to open the public hearing here on fiscal year 2012-2013 budget amendment. And this is on the amended portion, and we will open the public input. We'll have 5 minutes, and you can give your name and address and speak to peace. Mr. Latham, welcome.
Thank you. Tim Latham, 3414 Brandywine Road, Mason City. And I just wanted to share some concerns I have as a taxpayer, not only of commercial property, but also of residential property and also of rental property. I'm a little concerned as to the cost of what this is going to cost to do. I think there possibly are some other ways that it could be done to save some money, because adding $11 per thousand or 100,000 to the tax bill is going to be a burden not only on taxpayers, but it's going to be a burden. It's going to be a burden also on renters. I don't know if you can think of that. Mason City is a large rental community, and I'm not sure that we can raise the fees enough to cover that in our rental thing, with the idea of possibly even going for a tax levy, for the school board. I think people might look at that a little negative in the fact that, hey, you're just hitting me for $11 per 100,000, now you want to add for the tax levy. So I have some concerns, and I have an idea. One of the ideas would be, I would assume that, and please, if I could get an answer, I'm assuming you would hire an outside source to come in and do the reappraisals.
When we're done,
Okay.
she's writing everything down,
Okay.
and she'll
Okay.
respond to that.
I think, sometimes when we do assessments, sometimes as a realtor also, the market dictates what a property's worth. And give you an example, I bought a house, well, I bought several. I bought one the other day about 3 weeks ago for $33,000. It's assessed at $101,000. So I'm not sure that you're always going to find that you're going to get. I think the idea is that you can find more taxable property. I'm not sure that's going to totally be the case, especially with the downturn in the real estate market. Not only, in Mason City's not a big commercial market in the fact of big buyers coming in and buying commercial property. Commercial property is, there's not a lot of buyers for commercial property in Mason City, and commercial property doesn't demand a big price in Mason City. So I would warrant you, ask you to consider that. The other thing is, I would advise you possibly to look at maybe hiring someone onto the staff, because it said it's going to take years to do this. In 5 years, hire someone at $40,000 a year that's qualified appraiser who knows our market, and for a couple reasons. One is he knows our market. Second, a lot of people are going to protest any increase, and some people are going to take that to the district court. And I would assume that the contractor that you're gonna get to come in and do this is also gonna have provisions in there that says he gets paid extra if he has to go to court to defend his case. And I have a feeling you'll see a lot of things being filed in district court to protest those tax increments. So if you had someone who was hired on, to do these, that person would already be on staff. Even if you contracted them, say this is possibly gonna take 5 years, it's not a permanent job, and look at the facts of, you'd have that person on staff that could go to court if they had to testify for that. I'm looking both ways, as a taxpayer. Those are just some food for thought. I understand the need to get as much tax dollars as we can for the schools, for the county, for the city. But I think you might be somewhat surprised with prices down. They're coming up slowly, but they're not there. And there's a lot of bank repo properties out there yet to be sold that are gonna dictate market value. And an appraiser can say they're distressed properties, but they're not really distressed properties. In fact, most of them, you go in and put $4,000 or $5,000 into them, and they're ready to be rental properties or be ready to be flipped as homes to sell. So I appreciate you letting me give you my ideas there.
Thank you, Mr. Latham. Appreciate it. Anybody else on public input? All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing on the budget amendment. Is there a motion to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Tornquist. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gordo. Is there any discussion on this, folks?
Yeah, just to clarify for Mr. Latham, we're voting, this first item we're voting on is a budget amendment for the current year that we're in. And the comments that you made are basically for item H, which is coming up in another vote.
Yeah, and I basically made the decision just to give you the opportunity to visit since we're a little informal here. So.
The budget amendment is neutral. It's shifting money from one accounting center to another based on some changes in state code.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem at all. But I'm still going to have her respond when we get there. So. Any other discussion? Let the record reflect, by the way, that Mr. Young and Ms. Solberg are here as well. All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. All right, this is H, which Mr. Latham just spoke on, which is fine. We're going to open the public hearing on fiscal year 13-14 City Assessor budget. And is there any public input? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. And is there a motion and a second to approve the city assessor budget for 13-14?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. So we have a motion and a second. Ms. Dahlman, I know you were scribbling down the concerns of Mr. Latham, and if you'd like to say a few words about that and the upcoming budget, you're more than welcome. Then we'll have discussion.
My name is Dana Dahlman. Excuse me, I'm the Mason City Assessor. I wrote down a few key things that you said, so if I miss anything, please remind me. The first concern you had was the cost of hiring an outside firm to do the reappraisal project. The reason that we've chosen to hire an outside firm to do it. Like you said, you realize that we do already have a restricted staff. For us to do it in-house would be nothing more than chasing our tails. It would take probably just as much time to get done, if not more. If we can hire an outside firm, it is their specialty to work with ad valorem property appraisal, which is for tax purposes. It is set up different. It's mass appraisal, which is definitely, the end result is the same of market value, but the process we go through is very different than a fee appraiser. when we can hire this firm, they can come in and have our work turned over and done within a 2-year time frame. They bring in several, up to I believe about 10 people come in all at one time, take care of everything, turn the values over to me. So there will be a lot extra work within the office by having this project done. When I sat down and did the math, the cost of, example is the residential properties. There's a per parcel price based on if the parcel has structures on it or it's just a vacant lot. I have a lot of information, give me 1 second. Okay. There's approximately 11,000 improved parcels. The charge per parcel is $88. The overall project final cost ends up being about $55 over the 5 years to each property owner, each property being assessed. When I think of the fee appraisal prices, I know they're at least $300 per appraisal. So to do 11,000 appraisals, assuming at a fee appraisal price, it's $33 million if I'm correct. Even if we could get local appraisers to do it half price, it is still a huge cost savings to hire this outside company to come in and do it, when I look at dollars to dollars. Does that kind of answer my question?
I don't want to be real cautious about getting into a discussion here.
Yeah,
but I mean,
I did all the math, so I know
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Could you comment, also, you talked about a burden on renters, and that was something that this board had talked about previously. Speak about that.
Yes. You had specifically mentioned how what you paid for a property was significantly less than the assessed value. That's my biggest concern, and I believe it's a major concern of this board, is that there are too many properties that are overassessed. There are more properties that are overassessed than are underassessed. And typically they are the lower value properties within the city, and the higher value properties tend to be a little underassessed, while those lower value and median value homes are overassessed. And so the reappraisal will help fix that issue. It will be more equitable for everybody. We've done ratio studies already, and there are some areas in town that are 50% over appraised. There are some areas that are 20% under appraised. And what we'd like to do is just level the playing field so that everybody has an assessed value of market value. You talked about there could be a lot of district court filings. Anytime, hopefully we'll give relief to many property owners. That's not going to be the case for everybody. Even if the overall total assessed value for the city does increase, if there's more tax dollars there, it doesn't mean that the budgets are going to increase or the levies will increase. It'll actually give these boards an opportunity to lessen their levies if that's what's necessary at that time. The state of Iowa implemented a property assessment appeal board about 5-6 years ago, and that is a free service to property owners, so that after a property owner appeals their assessment to a local board review, if they're still not okay with that, they can go to the state level appeal board, which is also free. So there will be some people who might choose to go the district court route, but that implementation of the statewide board has definitely lessened the district court cases. There was a comment about hiring a qualified appraiser. I think that's a good idea. In general, I think that's a good idea. However, it is going to be my job to be familiar with our local market and watch for those areas that are overvalued, undervalued, and make sure that everything is being treated fairly. There will will be an additional staff member in my office after July 1st. Definitely somebody with appraisal experience. So hopefully we've taken care of that issue. I don't
You
know.
have anything else you want to add?
I don't
I think you got it.
Thank you.
believe so. You're welcome.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second. We'll have discussion here. I would just say real quick, just to note, this isn't about increasing revenue for any of these boards. This is about getting it right and making it fair for everybody in town, making sure our cost structure is correct. And then we can leave it to the three bodies to adjust the levy appropriately afterwards. So we just need to get it right. Any discussion? Good. Strong
Yeah,
question.
a couple of things I wanted to touch on, just so we're not having the appearance of being misleading. You had talked about $11 per 100,000. It's actually $20.60. So it's about twice as bad as what you thought it was. But I see it like the mayor just touched on. It's not about generating revenue. It's about being fairness. And the problem that we've had is it's been so long since we did reassessments that we've had this state mandated equalization forced upon us, and it's created inequalities, predominantly at the extremes, the low end and the high ends. And so what we're hoping to do is through this process, get things back to where it's more fair for everybody, not only in the middle, but particularly at the extremes. That may or may not generate incremental revenue, but basically what we're doing, it's $1 million project. And it's going to take the better part of 6 or 8 years from where we are now to where it's complete. It's going to take 3 years through this tax increase to build enough cash on hand to be able to start the project, and that's probably 3 years out. But we've also calculated that once we start the project, it's got about a 1-year payback. So basically, in the next budget cycle, there's going to be a $20.60 increase per 100,000, which I think Dana mentioned is somewhere around $55 for the average person. That money will be built into the budget next year, so it won't be an increase next year, but it's an increase over where we are right now. So basically, for the next 3 years, people are going to be paying an incremental $55, which we're building in this year. And about a year or so out, once we start the project, we're expecting that project to have a return on the investment through equalization. What that means to me, and I can only speak as a council person, is that once we level the playing field and we get things back to where they should be, the revenues should be to where we have the ability to now come in and decrease taxes to the taxpayer in Mason City through the levy to get back to where we are right now before we start the project. But we've got the disproportionate distribution of where the taxes are being collected. So to me, the only way we could get it done in any kind of a meaningful time frame is to get the resources in here that can knock it out, and even at that, it's going to take several years to get it done. If we did it completely in-house, by the time we got it done, we'd already be behind on the next cycle. So that's kind of the way, good, bad, or indifferent, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Thank you, Mr. Tornquist. Anybody else?
May I make a comment?
Yeah, please.
I just want to clarify what Scott said was over $20 increase. That is correct. However, only $11 of it is actually proportionate to the reappraisal project itself.
Okay.
The rest of the money would be regular budget expenditure increases.
Thanks for that clarification, because I had lost sight of that.
Okay.
So roughly $9 of it is for departmental changes that we're making to be more efficient, which includes hiring 2 people, if I remember, or 2
Hires
equivalents?
1 deputy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And while we're talking here, could you take a moment and talk about how other conference boards have built in their reserves, and that's something that we weren't in the situation ever. Could you take a minute to talk about that, please?
Sure. The reason we're having to budget for this in upcoming budget years, and that's why there's also a little bit of a lag in when the reappraisal project will be complete, because it has to be paid for. The budget when I came into office was is pretty bare bones. There was very little money in reserves. There's about $100,000 in reserves to work off of, just to fund throughout the year. Other assessor offices, around the state and other municipalities, they've been in office long enough, and they've had the forethought to start putting money away for projects like these, so that when it does come time to complete a new reappraisal project, if it's needed, that the funds are already there or partially there, so that it doesn't have to be budgeted for future years, but it can, some of that money can come out of reserves and pay for the project.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a simple question. You mentioned a different name other than Vanguard earlier, is that? or- Okay. I thought I heard something else in a conversation here a little bit ago that you were using for an outside appraisal. No?
Did I even
No.
mention a name? I don't think I mentioned a name.
Okay, 'cause
I said outside sourcing. It is Vanguard Appraisals,
Okay.
and that's always been a proposal.
And that's the 10 people that you were making reference to that would come in for the community?
That company will have a lead or senior appraiser who oversees everything. They'll send in a staff of listers and other appraisers that were underneath them to come in and do the groundwork, to actually step foot on every property and get out their tape measures. So around 10 people from that company will come and do that, get everything listed, measured, listed, entered in the software program, and from there we do a lot of sales analysis. The senior appraiser reviews most of the, or all of the data, turns it over to me. I review the data. So that's why we can get it done within about a 2-year time frame once it starts, is because the number of people coming to help.
Do you have a pretty good idea where you want to start at in the community, like different areas? I mean, that you think maybe are overvalued, that need to go down a little bit, or what's your plan on this?
There are definitely areas in town that are more on the extreme end of overvaluation compared to other areas. They will all be reappraised at the same time, though. I mean, it will take 2 years. It will take probably a year to just visit everything physically, and then another year to do the statistical work and the data entry and all that. And notices will be mailed to all of those property owners at the same time in the same revaluation year. So a portion of the city will not get notices 1 year, and then another portion the next year. Everybody will get them at the same time, the same timeline.
So if I understand, they might start in one area, but basically you wait till the whole thing is done before you spit it all out and do
Correct.
it.
And revaluation cycles are every 2 years. So it would fit right in line with, it would take us 2 years to do it, and then everybody at the same time will get their notification.
What else? All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, before we leave, I just want, this has been quite a journey here for all of us. It started with the examining board that all 3 bodies appointed, Mr. Stambaugh, Mr. Robinson, Dr. Hoffman. They did a great job. They selected a great candidate. We had wonderful discussions with Ms. Nauman on the way in with all of you folks. You guys have done, this has been a pretty big job to tackle here, and it's been very appreciated. The work has been very appreciated, especially the diligent way that you all went about doing it. And I would not want to hesitate to compliment our city assessor, because her and her staff have done a great job putting this all together for you all to consider and move forward with. So thank you very much, and seeing no further business on the agenda, we're adjourned.